He was the luckiest man in town until his luck ran out. This is the story of the lottery winner who went missing. Wait until you hear what Harold bought with the money. Harold Benton was 46, working class, invisible. The kind of man who could stand in a crowded room and nobody would remember his face an hour later. He'd spent 23 years at Morrison's Auto Repair in Valdosta, Georgia, changing oil, replacing brake pads, going home to a one-bedroom rental that smelled like motor grease, no matter how many times he scrubbed the floors. Every Friday, same ritual. Cash his check, buy 2 lottery tickets at the gas and go, fold them into his wallet without looking. He told himself it wasn't hope, just routine. March 15th, 2019. Harold was eating leftover meatloaf in the break room when Jerry, the shop owner, burst in waving his phone. Someone in Valdosta just won $78 million. Harold kept chewing, didn't even glance up. It wasn't until he got home that night, pulling out his wallet to pay for Chinese takeout, that he saw the numbers on the crumpled ticket. 7, 14, 23, 31, 42, 48. He checked them 3 times. Then he locked his door, sat on the floor, and didn't move for 2 hours. The press conference was a circus. Harold stood there in a borrowed suit, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions he couldn't hear over the ringing in his ears. He smiled, shook hands with lottery officials, and posed with an oversized check. Local news ran the story for 3 days straight. Small-town mechanic strikes gold. His face was everywhere. Gas stations, grocery stores, the barbershop where he used to get his hair cut. People he'd never met were suddenly his best friends. Keep watching, because what happened next changed everything. Harold took the lump sum, $43 million after taxes. The first thing he did was pay off his mother's mortgage, a 2-bedroom house in Waycross she'd been fighting to keep for 15 years. Then he bought himself a black Ford F-250. Nothing flashy, just reliable. He upgraded to a 3-bedroom ranch on the edge of town, brick facade, fenced yard, enough space that he didn't have to hear his neighbors breathing through the walls. For exactly 9 days, Harold Benton felt like the luckiest man alive. Then Angela showed up, his ex-wife from a marriage that lasted 18 months back in 2003. She knocked on his door with tears in her eyes and said her daughter, not his daughter, needed surgery. The insurance wouldn't cover. $30,000. Harold wrote the check because he didn't know how to say no. 2 days later, his cousin Marcus appeared, the one who'd stolen Harold's truck in high school and never apologized. Marcus needed capital for a business idea, some app that would revolutionize food delivery. $50,000. Harold wrote that check too. Then came his old coworker, his high school football coach, a woman who claimed they dated in 1997, though Harold had no memory of her face. The requests came faster than he could process them, and the amounts kept growing. But here's where it gets strange. Someone was keeping track. A notebook appeared on Harold's porch one morning. No return address, just a list of names. Every person who'd asked him for money. Next to each name, a number, not the amount they'd requested, the amount they actually needed. And at the bottom, in handwriting that wasn't quite right, too perfect, almost mechanical, you're giving to the wrong people. Harold threw the notebook away. It appeared again the next day. Same spot, same handwriting. He burned it in his backyard. 3 days later, a new one showed up, this time with photographs. Harold stopped sleeping. He installed cameras around the property, 8 of them, covering every angle. He hired a security company, 2 guys who sat in a car outside his house from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. But he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was inside. Not in the house. Inside his head. He'd be watching TV and suddenly remember conversations he'd never had, promises he'd never made, people he'd supposedly wronged decades ago. A woman in the grocery store grabbed his arm, whispered, "You know what you did," and walked away before he could ask what she meant. Don't click away because the twist is coming and it's not what you think. Harold started withdrawing cash. Large amounts. $200,000 over the course of 3 weeks. He told the bank manager it was for investments, but his hands shook when he signed the withdrawal slips. His mother called, worried. She'd heard rumors around town. People saying Harold had changed, that the money had poisoned him. He told her he was fine. But when she asked if she could visit, he said no. He couldn't explain why. Just that the house didn't feel safe anymore. not for her. March 8th, 2020. Almost exactly 1 year after he won. A jogger found Harold's truck idling on a dirt road near Twin Lakes. Doors unlocked, keys in the ignition, wallet and phone on the passenger seat. No blood, no signs of struggle, just an empty vehicle and questions nobody could answer. Police searched the woods for 6 days, brought in dogs, helicopters, volunteers from 3 counties. They found camping gear missing from Harold's garage, a tent, sleeping bag, portable stove, and they found something else. Financial records showing Harold had been converting his money into cryptocurrency. $7 million moved into anonymous digital wallets in the 2 weeks before he vanished. Untraceable. Unretrievable. Detective Raymond Moss led the investigation. He's retired now, but in 2023, he gave an interview to a true crime podcast. He said something that still haunts people who followed the case. We analyzed Harold's computer, found deleted emails, hundreds of them, all from the same address. Someone was coaching him, telling him how to disappear, how to move money without leaving traces. We traced the IP address. Want to know where it came from? The detective paused. Harold's own computer. He was emailing himself. For 6 months, different accounts, different names, but same device, same location. Harold Benton wasn't running from someone else. He was running from himself. Stay with me because this is where everything clicks. Police found a journal in Harold's house, hidden in the air vent. Most of it was financial planning, boring stuff. But the last entry, dated March 7th, the night before he disappeared, said this: I finally understand. The lottery didn't change me. It revealed me. I've been 2 people my whole life, the man everyone sees and the man I actually am. The money just made it impossible to hide anymore. Tomorrow, I become one person, the right one. Angela, Marcus, everyone who asked for money, they weren't wrong. I was never going to use it anyway. I don't deserve peace. I deserve what's coming. Nobody knows what Harold meant by that, but 6 months after he vanished, the people he'd given money to started receiving anonymous payments. Not from Harold's accounts, from the crypto wallets. Someone was distributing the $7 million, carefully, strategically, to dozens of people in Valdosta. The woman who needed surgery for her daughter, the veteran who'd lost his house, the teacher who couldn't afford classroom supplies. Not the scammers, not the con artists, the ones who actually needed help. And here's the part that keeps investigators up at night. Whoever was sending the money knew details about these people's lives that Harold couldn't have known. Medical records, financial statements, private conversations. It was like someone had been watching the entire town for years. In 2022, a hiker in northern Alaska reported seeing a man matching Harold's description living in a cabin near Denali. No confirmation, no follow-up. The tip led nowhere. But 3 months later, another sighting in Nova Scotia, then Oregon, then Arizona. Always alone, always just out of reach. Some investigators think Harold planned the perfect disappearance, that he's out there somewhere, living off the grid with what's left of his fortune. Others believe something darker, that Harold never left Valdosta, that whoever was sending those emails, writing those notebooks, making those payments, was never Harold at all. Detective Moss has one theory he's never shared publicly until now. He thinks Harold discovered something about the lottery itself, that the win wasn't random, that someone wanted him to have that money, specifically him, for a reason he never understood until it was too late. The detective won't say more than that, but he keeps a file on his desk. The Benton case. Still open, still waiting. And if you want to know the real truth, here's what nobody's talking about. 3 other lottery winners from Georgia disappeared between 2015 and 2021. All of them took lump sums. All of them moved money into crypto. All of them vanished without a trace. Harold wasn't the first. He was just the one people remember. Harold Benton won $78 million and lost himself in the process. Whether he ran away or someone made that choice for him doesn't change the ending. The money's gone. He's gone. And somewhere, someone is still watching, still waiting for the next winner to make the same mistakes. Because fortune doesn't just change your life. Sometimes it erases it. If this story made you question everything you thought you knew about luck, hit subscribe. We're just getting started. And trust me, the next one is even darker.